this is Jessyca Lewis. I'm in Eugene, Oregon, and I'm with Max Morales, who is in Mexico. Max, where are you located right now? Where are you?
Hello, Jessyca. I'm Puerto Vallarta in Mexico.
In Mexico? And you're where are you located at the moment? In a wine bar?
Yep, I'm here in the Littenbrod. It's a wine bar, coffee place too, in downtown, in the Zona Romantica. It's a romantic zone, very old-fashioned, with stones in the streets, good architecture.
It's such a beautiful area. I've been before, and I really like it. So what we're going to do really quickly, we'll talk a little bit about the broadcast. I'll talk a little bit about Max. Max is from Chile, so he's going to talk a little bit about Chile. He's a tour guide, a wine specialist, government strategic consultant, and is the former wine specialist for National Geographic Explorer. If you would, feel free to ask any questions you'd like to ask. We can see them live and we can answer them live. Right now, we're broadcasting on about 10 different pages, as well as YouTube Live, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live. Feel free to ask any questions. We can see them and we can post it on the screen. Also, if you'd like to see more live interviews, hit subscribe to my YouTube channel. So we'll talk a little bit about the broadcast. Right now, this is a live broadcast, but I do 3 different broadcasts. The Time to Wine broadcast is featuring experts in wine, social media, marketing, and leadership. And it's 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Monday. And the second broadcast interviews are YouTube interviews, which are broadcast at 11 a.m. on Friday. We have a very big international group of people that do broadcasts. So we also do live broadcasts as our time zones allow between time zones. And that's broadcasting live on LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, and Facebook Live. Again, hit subscribe. And we're going to talk here a little bit with Max about his work history. So again, Max Morales is from Chile. He's a tour guide, a wine specialist, government strategic consultant, and is the former wine specialist for National Geographic. And he has a lot to talk about that. He has a lot of beautiful photos. So Max, let's talk about your work history.
Sure. I'm an agriculture engineering, but I started as an exchange student in Texas. I was living in San Marcos, and then suddenly my whole life started to merge between National Geographic, Texas, Chile, and Mexico. I have a research on the origin of wine the last couple of years, 22 years actually, and I've been doing this speech on board of National Geographic in Chilean fjords for many years, and now I went to South by Southwest actually to kind of give this speech. So my whole background is agricultural, wine, marketing, and hospitality.
Which is really interesting. You have an extensive background in the wine history in Chile. So let's talk a little bit about your educational background.
Sure. I studied in a very small town called Laja. In that time, it was one of the number one school in Chile because it was founded by a big company. And so I was bilingual. Right after that, I went to the States. I'm a Chilexan, which means I'm from Chile, but I live in Texas. And then I started agriculture engineering. And then I went to the University of San Francisco to get a diploma in innovation. All of that created a whole background that I could start consulting governments. I started working with some investors to do projects basically social projects related to wine. And in the last couple of years, people don't understand what I do because I always say strategic consulting, it's understood by the clients and not by the people in general. So for many years, I've been doing social projects in rural areas, helping small producers to get their wines done. And all of that is thanks to the education that I got. So.
And do you want to talk a little bit about, you have an extensive background in wine education. Do you want to talk about your wine education?
Sure. I remember now that I was in Alaska one time. When you start in certain point in your life, you start putting the pieces together. And I have a bottle of wine when I was 23 with a big bottle. And I started to learn about wine when I was after Texas. I went to the university. I started getting the WSAT 1 and 2 when nobody understood in Chile what it was and what it was good for. And then I organized over 140 events in wine. So I got trained by very important people. I don't know if you know Alexander Schmidt, the wine perfumer, that he smells and he writes the tasting notes without even tasting the wine. And I got trained by him by the nose. So I've been a wine judge too, and despite I don't go to many competitions, my training has been helping me to be very good at giving my opinion and have an opinion. That's why I have written so many articles and columns that took me to even Jancis Robinson.
Which you have a lot of pictures of you with her as well. Now, just off the cuff real quick, you brought her to Chile, right?
Yes.
So what happened there? So you've got pictures of you with Janice Robinson. So what were you two doing?
Yeah, I mean, I started writing for her 12 years ago. And she was in New Zealand, I remember. And she told me, I approached her, hey, I have 10 days available. You're lucky, Max, because I'm not going to go back to Chile anymore, I think. That was in 17.
Oops, we lost Max. I'll tell him really quickly. He's live from Mexico and we're missing him. So let me send him a message and say, Max is missing. Max, can you hear me? We'll wait here just a minute. This happens a lot when we're doing live streams with different countries. We'll see if Max can reappear here. He seems to have no internet access because he's not writing me back. And so nope, there's no Max. So we'll check and see if Max is coming back, or we'll just end it and we'll start it again a little later. So how's everybody doing out there? I'd love for you to send me a message. Let me know you're watching. Please let me know that you can watch what we're doing and ask any questions of Max. I'm not sure that Max is coming back. So this is the fun of doing international broadcast. He's not writing me back. So I'm guessing that Max lost his internet connection. So send me a note. Let me know you're watching. And I have another live stream tomorrow with our men in Zurich, Switzerland. So I'll be posting information about that as well. So anyway, I'll just wait here a second and see if Max reappears, or if I hear from Max. And if Max says anything, such as I'll be back in just a minute. Oh, here he is. He's back. Okay, good. All right, you're back. What happened?
I don't know.
From our international connections, I've seen this happen before. It's like, oh no, I can't. I'm not a specialist on wine from Chile. So what am I going to do?
I'm pretty sure the Wi-Fi collapsed, but I don't know.
Well, we'll just keep talking.
What was the last thing I told you? You hear?
You were talking about Janice Robinson. She came to visit for 11 days. She had 11 days available, and she came to visit.
Yeah. So she arrived, and basically she was by chance in the way back to a personal festivity in California. So she had this 10 days gap. So she flew from New Zealand, stayed in Chile, and nobody knew about this. Actually, it was not a secret, but we didn't have to promote it either. So we start contacting people. We contact François Massoc, that they have the alliance with Louis Michel Belair in Bosna Romanée. We collect about 10 wines from Itata Valley, and she was really impressed from the wines from basically Old Vineyards, because she tasted the oldest Malbec in the world. She tasted several Pais grapes, and I think we changed the image of Chile in that trip, because she always visited Chile until Curicó Valley. That's where she told me, and Curicó it's not the oldest wine region. It's one of the oldest regions, but the hot spot in Chile is Itata Valley. So she had this chance to taste all high-end wines because all the winemakers were high-end and they were very connected. And she wrote great pieces about those articles of those wines. And for me, I could prove, because other people didn't believe me, that I wrote for her because it was under subscription website. My articles most of them are in the paid section. And in Chile, I said, yeah, sure, you write for Jancis Province. And then I have pictures to prove it that she was with me. So I'm very proud because we talk a lot. And she's marvelous. She gave me a lot of tips about the future, what was going to happen. She has a vision about the wine industry that we don't have, but we start talking about why she picked me and allowed me to write in her website. So it was very interesting.
Well, it's such a wonderful experience. It's so wonderful you got to meet her and take her around Chile. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is a gentleman from Chile and Texas. Now there's culture shock. So what was some of your culture shock that you experienced when you got to Texas? Well, I can only imagine.
I have three stories. I mean, three pieces: when I was 17, when I was 43, 45, and when I was 48. In all the times, the one thing I learned in my last trip is that I'm connected with Texas historically. And part of the history of wine, I don't know if you know, is Texas, because in College Station, they created the vine stock that saved the attack of phylloxera. And nobody knows that part of the story, or maybe they skip it because Texas is not well known for the great wines they have, but lately they've been doing good wines. So when I arrived and started talking about this, I said, yes, really? Yeah, Texas in 1880s, they created a vine stock with local endemic varieties, and they saved the vines in Europe. So I finally found the book called Phylloxera, where I tell the story. And part of my research is based on Texas. And I'm still researching about how this happened in part of the history, because I want to write a book about all my life because of this origin of wine and research.
There's a gentleman I know that works with Vox Vineyards in Missouri. And one of the things that he does is there were a lot of vines that were lost during, I think I'd have to look up the history again, but I think during World War I and World War II. And so he is revitalizing the wines. He has found information and is growing wines that were lost, and has a lot of people from California that come visit that assist with it. And a lot of it, he has no record of what the wine tasted like. So he has to keep working on it that way. Okay. So, all right. So you contributed to Janice Robinson's work. All right. And then let's talk about Andy's Wine and what you're doing we need to first talk about, you're the wine specialist for National Geographic Explorer, and you've got beautiful photos. So let's talk about some of your adventures with National Geographic Explorer.
Yeah, in 2008, National Geographic Endeavor, which is another ship, National Geographic has 12 cruise ships, 12 ships and different sizes and different branding. And they were, some passengers were asking for an assistant or a wine specialist, and they called an agency at that time. And that was the clients that had been hiring me to do tastings. And I got hired to do 1 month tasting each 2 years with National Geographic. Then I went to National Geographic Explorer, and I'm the only wine specialist officially, because there are sommeliers and other type of specialists. But in Chile, this category has been kind of reserved for me, because this ship comes each 2 years. The last time I went was 2018. And I have met amazing people. Now, most of the photographers and specialists from National Geographic, we are friends now. And I've been trying to help some of them that they are lost in certain islands like Galapagos. There's tour guides from National Geographic, actually, that we are trying to do coffee brands and cacao. Thanks to that, I started working in the coffee business to rescue coffee too.
I was just in November, I was in Brazil, and I was on a coffee plantation. So I was in the area of coffee, which is down in close to, I'm trying to think, I must have been in the state of Sao Paulo at that time.
You know,
okay.
You know that Italians don't have coffee. It's Brazilian coffee that they roasted in Italy. And most of the ships that arrive to Brazil, they produce their coffee from Brazil. But the Italians don't like to say that.
Yes, I could imagine. So let's talk a little bit about COVID. So COVID, we none of us were expecting a global pandemic. So we started COVID, and now we've kind of evolved to where we are now, which keeps evolving. We keep thinking this will go away, but it's still going and still moving forward. So do you want to talk about your experience with COVID and what's happening now?
Yeah, when I was doing the climate change wine tour, which is an exploration to visit the oldest vines in Chile from Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a 6 to 10 days tour, and ended up in Easter Island to see the latest vineyard planted in the Pacific or in the Polynesia. So I was returning from that, and then I wrote the article for Decanter, and in March, the frontiers were closed. So I took some things, like for 10 days from Santiago, and I went to see my parents to say, because this is going to last for 2 weeks, and then 1 month, 5 months, and then we realized it was not ending. So I returned it to...
Yeah, it's gone on and on.
Yes, I returned to Santiago to get my things from my apartment, because I was spending $1,000 there just for rent, and I couldn't afford it anymore. So I went back, packed my things, and I moved with my parents for 18 months. I was in a very small town, so I didn't do much because all my clients left. I was doing acceleration of startups that time. I wasn't working in wine particularly, but then I started to restructure my departure from Chile. It took me 6 months. I was applying for a job actually in March in Texas, and then all those went away. So right after they opened the frontiers in September, I left with no destination, and I started in Texas, and now I'm in Mexico. So it's been an adventure.
Yes, it's been an adventure. So what, and I think I had mentioned on the adventure on this side, this has all been an adventure, but one of the things was that through the evolution, I had 2 vaccines and I had a booster. And so my thought process was, okay, made it through.
Yes.
And now we're finished with this. And now that we all have the vaccines, we can take off our, when they said we could take off our mask, the government said we could take off our mask, and that things were much better and we're out and about doing whatever we're doing. And then I got COVID. My husband got COVID. My sister got COVID. Her husband. So then previously, the people that had COVID were people that you didn't know. So and so has COVID, but there were no people that had COVID within my sphere. And then suddenly everyone I knew had COVID.
Really?
And so yeah, so we've all, and then we're in an area where it's low, and so we're kind of I'm in a small town, and it's kind of a low situation. And now after we've all had the vaccines and the booster, a whole bunch of us have COVID. So I was like, okay, so 2 vaccines, a booster, and I've had COVID. Okay, maybe I'm done.
Oh my God.
So it's kind of an interesting experience for sure. It's like, well, okay. And then when you have COVID, it's incredibly unpleasant. So I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So do you want to talk about Andy's Wines, your company that you're working on?
Yeah, I remember I'm a serial entrepreneur, which means I've been doing several companies in the last couple of years. I started with a company called planchile.com, where that was a touristic website, and we blew it up in 6 months. We didn't have income in the .com bubble exploded. And then with that learning, we started Andes Wines, which started with 6 languages. We started generating content in 6 languages, and we create a paid content website. So we started to send information to several pitching pitching magazines, wine writers, about stories that I was writing about. And then the Count Francesco Marone Cinzano from Italy hired me. From Italy, he was starting his winery in Chile. So we have to spread the word about his winery from Chile, but with the heritage of Tuscany. That was called Dorcia. And that was the first client that I had. And thanks to that, I got this very well-known newsletter that arrives to over 95,000 people. And with that newsletter, we started to generate our own network of communication. We have a theory that the wineries that pay advertisement and they get published in several media, it's only 1 to 5% of the total wineries of the world. So we were focused on the very small, medium-sized winery that they didn't have large budgets. So we started to work with them in Greece, in Italy, Argentina, Brazil, and we started organizing events. And all the events that we did, we promoted through Andes Wine, our newsletter, and then Facebook showed up, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Sorry. I'm not used to get interviewed. So thanks to that, we even had a journalist that did his thesis in our network in Dijon University. So our name started to sound among several wine writers also, because we had exclusive content that they took and then they published in other media.
Need your water? I need some of my tea. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you I'm kind of known for my Starbucks cups, but anyway, I've got my Sao Paulo Starbucks cup here. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to ask you is, let's talk a little bit about, you were a guest writer for Decanter.
Yes, I'm still.
You're still a guest writer for Decanter? Okay.
Yeah, I need to pitch them with a lot of time because so sorry. I started writing about Rescuing Old Vineyards, but now I'm gonna focus on more countries to find these gems, So I pitch them like 2 articles per year because it takes me 6 months to research each topic. It's a long research to write. The piece of Easter Island, for example, took me a few months to wrap it up because I traveled there to write about it.
Oh, I like Australia too. I've been to the Gold Coast. Okay, so let's talk about things to see and do in Chile or Mexico, either one.
In wine, in particular?
In wine, or just it can be wine. Like, so if you were wine, or it could be just some of the fun things to see and do. I've been to Brazil 14 times. I need to kind of move over to, the other part of your area up there. I haven't been to Chile.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, my focus is to put South America and our vineyards in the top list of media. There's a lot of conferences, there's a lot of things that they skip what we're doing as a country, and even Mexico. Mexico is the oldest place where they put grapes when Spanish arrived, and Chile has the oldest Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec, and Cabernet Franc from the world. So my objective is to create tours and explorations to see these vines and also to taste wines from these areas that are not producing so far with climate change. In some parts now they are ripening. And in Easter Island, for example, now you can find sparkling wine. You will never expect that. So I've been hired by tourists and by wine, very specific people like Lynn Sharrock, that she was awarded by WSAT to visit one wine region like Chile, and we ended up doing over 33 wineries in a couple of days. So I see myself traveling around the world to visit these Mexican areas that they are very unknown, Texas too in the future, and Chile. I have several colleagues that can take people. So my focus will always be to show old vines, new wine regions, and put them on the spotlight. That's kind of my goal.
I know it sounds interesting. So let's talk. So we're at 24 minutes. So let's talk a little bit about your future projects, things that you're looking. We're both entrepreneurs. It gets tiring sometimes to be an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
I'm always doing something. I'm always trying to invent something else. So let's talk a little bit about your future projects and what you're moving toward right now.
Right now, I package, after 18 months in COVID, I package all my knowledge in PR for Founders. PR for Founders, it's a service that I take a founder, a startup, or a winery or anybody that, even a coach. And we do several strategies to put their name on several spotlights, events. We organize events. I've been organizing 140 events in different countries. So we help them to put their message out there. Twitter, Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse. There's so many platforms that they don't have time to spend. They don't have time to research either what's going on. So they hire me like 3 to 4 companies per year to do this 360 communication strategy to put their names. And of course, pitching story to several media too is part of the service. And I have over 3,000 publications with clients and with articles that we've been writing about these founders. So I'm getting specialized in food tech, fintech, but startups in general. Anything could be. The wine business is the product coming from the countryside that has more innovation and more value, because we have the cork, we have the fermentation, then you have the marketing, and that is a proof that wine is one of the most successful niches in innovation. I think Silicon Valley Bank invests a lot of money in wine business. So we see that. I've been working with very, very prestigious wineries that they are owned by other companies, and they have the income from other like construction companies or even shipping companies, and they have a wine. So we created this new niche of helping founders that not only are wineries, you know.
So Max, what are some of the tips? So as we're kind of ending here, what are some of the tips that you have for successful entrepreneurs? I know you've been working with startups. And so what would be some of the tips that you would have for starting your own business, or tips for successful people and moving forward? Clearly we've all had some obstacles we've had to jump through here, which, in many ways has been very helpful for a lot of people. I've had a lot of time to create and innovate that I wouldn't have had normally if things were just going so well. So what are some of your tips?
The main thing is that when you have some talent, either you paint, either you write, either you have a product, and you have to create a market fit, you have clients. My life in general, I've been always living with 1 up to 6 clients per year. So during the year, I do so many things, and people that they are not entrepreneurs, they don't understand that type of life. But you do so many things. Yeah, I have to do so many things, because the high season for wine business in Chile, it's September up to December, and that's the highest sales. And if you don't do that, you lose your year. I remember that I had the biggest wine store in South America. So I learned a lot of branding, commercialization, and my clients, that they are about 50 wineries, they understand that. And the criticism of people that they don't understand what an entrepreneur is, you have to forget about it. Don't see the criticism, because what you have learned, for example, Jessyca, it's so much knowledge to broadcast at the same time, and everybody sees it, and then to monetize it, it's very easy if we can see who has to read, who has to watch it, why, and how much they have to pay. So I've been known to consult very prestigious founders that's our mark credentials, and I have never seen the criticism. In fact, nobody has even say something to me, because they know it's effective. The consulting behind the scene, I've been behind the scenes the last couple of years, because during my wine store life, I was very exposed in television and media and stuff. But then I learned that I'm very good at helping others and push them other. So create something and get the monetization as fast as possible. And even if it's little and you keep your job, you can start, being in the moment where we'll be colliding. But don't ever stop your talent. And people don't even start. So I'm getting hired by founders that they see this kind of motivational coaching, some sort of, and I focus now in veteran coaches. I mean, coaching veterans that they are coming out of several situations of their lives, and they want to be an entrepreneur. And in Texas, I work with one. is called Joshua Diskin, and Joshua has a whole network of other founders, veterans, that we are helping them to become entrepreneurs. So my only suggestion is keep going. If you have YouTube or TikTok, to keep doing it twice a day, 3 a day, and trying to improve the thing. But then get some help in the monetization, because that's another learning experience, because you cannot do all. I mean, I cannot do all. You have done so many things in broadcast. I have no idea how to broadcast. So probably we will do something in the future, but try to ask for help as a founder. That's kind
And
of my.
I actually, a lot of my I've been public speaking. Well, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 10. I've been an entrepreneur since I was very young, starting with lemonade stands and mowing lawns for everyone in the neighborhood and doing all kinds of things. I've done that for years. One of the things I would say, teaching at a university, I was speaking in front of huge groups of students. So that really enhanced my public speaking for a while. So any of those things, like working with students, is very helpful because it's very live. Oh, yeah. If you mess up, oh well, you've got to keep going. Okay, real quickly, why don't you talk about how do we find you? So if someone wants to find you, this video. So one of the things I'll mention real quick, this is a live video that will be recorded, so you can watch it later. As soon as we end the broadcast, it's available on Facebook, YouTube, and also on LinkedIn. We can also share it with the link after it's recorded. Feel free to ask us any questions. Max can see them afterwards, and I can answer also on Facebook. And hit subscribe to my YouTube channel. I create videos about 3 times a week, if not more sometimes. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. And the Time to Wine broadcast is on the 2nd and 4th Monday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then there is one on Fridays at 11 a.m. as well as live based on our availability between countries. So Max, why don't you talk a little bit about how do people find you and reach you?
Very simple. Andy's Wines with S at the end in Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. The brand basically ate me a couple of years ago. So I started to have Instagram a few months ago. But Andy's Wines with S is the easiest way to reach me.
Okay. And you are incredible. I have to worry about my bandwidth a little bit. I create graphics. I do live videos. I do YouTube, and then TikTok doesn't always fit into the 100 hours a week work. But you did such a great you did such a great job of TikToks. You just you knock them out every day.
I got 3 videos a day in TikTok, actually.
3 videos a day. And do you get a lot of, let's talk about TikTok real quick. So what's your response with TikTok? And do you like that as opposed to Instagram Reels?
I love it. I started using TikTok. I got a few videos that got viralized, like 500,000K.
Oh, wow.
And I've learned, now people are asking me how to do it, and I'm trying to coach some people. But there's one video that I do in TikTok, and then I put it in LinkedIn, and then I put it in Twitter. Sometimes with the link, sometimes no with the link, just the video. But then I started using Reels in Instagram. And according to the day and the music that shows up every day, I'm spending 2 hours in TikTok, 1 hour in Instagram, and they are competing very well. I love both. They have very cool music in each time, the videos. And I mean, I'm a content provider, and you know that you can write an article every day. I can write an article and a column, 2 actually, if I want, per day. But also when I shoot the videos, it's easier because I have all these photographs in Facebook categorized the last couple of years. I have let's say 100 folders, and I just take photos from those folders that I've been organizing. And that's why I have so many videos. And people say, but how you can get so much content? Well, I just have so many photos, and I have them categorized, and I have an whole drive with new photos, and I love it. So,
well, how many hours a day do you spend on your social media?
On 4
TikTok?
hours.
4 hours?
4 to 6 hours, either researching well, videos, I spend like 3 hours a day.
Okay.
Because I work in wine, coffee, startups, acceleration, and strategic consulting. And those are totally different. I have videos that they have to be seen by ministers of certain countries because I do social projects that there became public policies, like I did in Chile. And also the video for a final user that it's random and with the hashtag. And I've been learning to use them in different situations, different photos, different length, different formats. And I think that's why a lot of people get surprised about I'm everywhere, because I spend a lot of time.
I do too. I spend a lot of time too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and end the broadcast. And so we are going to say goodbye to Max in Laca, right?
No, I'm in Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta. In Puerto Vallarta. Okay, perfect. Okay. Laca is in Chile, right?
Laja is in Chile.
Okay. So I'll close the end here. And I want to just tell you goodbye and thank you. And then we'll chat a little more after. So I'll close with this. I'm going to hit this.
I'm going to do a video.